You're in for an inspiring moment of humility and leadership. In this powerful tale, we follow Elon Musk as he faces an unjust confrontation at a summit, showing us how grace and patience can be the most powerful responses to unfair judgment. Instead of reacting with anger, Elon's calm and composed reaction turns the situation into a lesson for everyone around him. The grand glass doors of the Skyline Grand Hotel glided open as Elon Musk stepped inside, blending into the polished crowd gathered for the exclusive Tech and Innovation Summit in New York City. Unlike many of the sharply dressed executives milling about decked out in tailored suits and designer shoes, Elon wore his signature hoodie, jeans, and scuffed sneakers, a stark contrast to the corporate elegance around him. But today that was intentional. He wanted to avoid the usual fanfare, the endless selfies, and awkward small talk. For once, he just wanted to sit quietly, focus on his notes, and mentally prepare for the surprise keynote he was scheduled to deliver later. Slinging a simple backpack over one shoulder, he made his way toward the VIP lounge, nodding politely at hotel staff, who, surprisingly, didn't seem to recognize him without his usual entourage. The summit was buzzing with top tech CEOs, venture capitalists, and young entrepreneurs, all eagerly networking over lattes and polished presentations. Elon moved through the crowd quietly, finding a corner seat where he could review his slides on sustainable technology. Today wasn't about status. For him, it was about ideas. Little did he know, the day would take an unexpected turn before he ever reached the stage. As Elon sat quietly in the lounge, scrolling through his presentation notes on his tablet, a sharply dressed man in an expensive suit approached. Jonathan Pierce, a well-known venture capitalist and one of the summit's headline sponsors. With a confident stride and an air of superiority, Jonathan looked Elon up and down, his gaze lingering on the worn sneakers and casual hoodie. "Excuse me, sir," Jonathan said sharply, "this area is reserved for VIP guests and speakers. Staff and vendors aren't allowed here." For a moment Elon glanced up, a slight smile playing on his lips, assuming it was a misunderstanding. "I'm actually one of the speakers," he said politely. But Jonathan's expression turned cold, and his voice grew louder, drawing the attention of nearby guests. "Let's not make this awkward," Jonathan snapped. "I'm asking you to leave, now. You don't belong here." Murmurs began to ripple through the lounge as people turned to watch the exchange, eyes darting between the wealthy investor and the man they assumed was an intruder. Elon remained calm, but his jaw tightened as he processed the situation. He could see the judgment in Jonathan's eyes, not about who he was, but about what he looked like. Despite every instinct telling him to walk away quietly, Elon realized this wasn't just about him. This was about the way people make assumptions based on appearances, and in that moment he decided it was worth standing his ground. Elon remained calm, refusing to let Jonathan's dismissive attitude provoke him. He took a deep breath and, with measured composure, looked Jonathan directly in the eye. "I'm not sure what you're assuming, but I'm here to speak at the summit," he said evenly, ensuring his tone remained polite but firm. Elon's voice wasn't laced with anger or frustration, but rather a quiet confidence that seemed to challenge Jonathan's assumptions without confrontation. "I'm happy to show you my credentials, but I don't need to justify my presence to you based on how I look." The words weren't an attack, but a reminder of the power of self-assurance. Despite the growing tension, Elon didn't raise his voice or react defensively. Instead, he stood his ground, not just for himself, but for the message he believed in, that worth isn't determined by appearance or status. The eyes of several summit attendees lingered on them, but Elon's demeanor remained unshaken. Jonathan's face flushed with embarrassment, but he still held on to his stance, his earlier arrogance slowly melting away in the face of Elon's calmness. Elon wasn't about to let the situation spiral. He wasn't going to fight for respect. He was going to earn it by simply being himself. As the tension in the room escalated, Jonathan, unable to accept Elon's calm defiance, raised his voice one last time. "If you don't leave this line immediately, I'll have to call security," he snapped, his frustration evident. His words were loud enough for nearby attendees to hear, and the atmosphere shifted from awkward to charged. Elon glanced around, noticing a few curious stares from people in the vicinity. The summit, normally a place of professional exchange, had become a stage for an unexpected showdown. The sound of Jonathan calling over to a security guard rang out like a signal, and soon, an officer appeared by their side. "Is there an issue here?" the officer asked, sizing up the situation with a professional but wary look. Jonathan immediately pointed to Elon, his face flushed with indignation. "This man doesn't belong here. I've already asked him to leave," Jonathan said, his voice laced with authority, clearly expecting the officer to side with him. Elon remained unmoved, maintaining his calm composure. "I assure you, I belong here just as much as anyone else," Elon replied, his voice low but steady. The officer paused, uncertainty crossing his face as he looked between Elon and Jonathan, sensing something was off. Elon's reputation preceded him, and now it was clear, this wasn't just a misunderstanding. As the officer hesitated, Elon calmly reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out his event pass, holding it up for the security guard to see. "Here's my credentials," he said, his tone still measured but firm. The officer took the pass and examined it closely. For a moment, the world seemed to stand still. Elon's name was clearly visible on the pass, and it was linked to the event in a way that left no room for doubt. The officer's eyes widened as the realization hit him. This was Elon Musk. Jonathan's smug confidence faltered as he noticed the change in the officer's demeanor. The once dismissive look on the officer's face shifted to one of hesitation. Elon, unfazed by the tension, simply stood there, his posture still relaxed. The murmurs from the surrounding crowd began to grow louder as people started to piece together the truth. Some gasped, while others looked on in disbelief. Jonathan's face turned crimson, realizing he had just made a critical error. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. Elon's quiet strength had revealed the harsh truth of the situation, exposing Jonathan's assumption and turning the entire scene upside down. Elon turned his attention back to Jonathan, who was now visibly uncomfortable. "You know," Elon began calmly, his voice carrying just enough authority to silence the murmurs in the crowd, "judging someone based on their appearance says far more about you than it does about them." He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. The crowd fell silent, watching with bated breath as Elon continued, unflinching. "It's easy to make assumptions when you think you know everything, but reality isn't always what it seems. I'm sure you didn't expect this moment to turn out like this, but here we are." Elon's words hung in the air, and for a moment Jonathan stood there, speechless, his bravado slipping away. Elon took a step forward, his gaze unwavering. "You've probably done this to others before, passed judgment without knowing anything about them. But today, you picked the wrong person." The quiet power in Elon's voice left no room for rebuttal. His calmness was not an act, it was a demonstration of how much stronger one could be when they refused to fall prey to petty assumptions and prejudice. As Elon's message settled in, the crowd's whispers faded, replaced by a sense of recognition. They had witnessed a powerful moment of accountability. Elon's calm resolve had not only corrected a mistaken assumption, but had also shown the audience a more effective way to challenge ignorance, by staying grounded, standing tall, and offering a quiet yet profound lesson in respect and dignity. Jonathan, realizing the weight of his mistake, stood frozen for a moment before she slowly turned to Elon. His earlier confidence was completely gone, replaced by a mixture of embarrassment and regret. I'm sorry," he stammered, his voice barely audible. "I didn't mean to make assumptions about you. I was wrong." The apology was awkward, but it carried genuine remorse. The crowd, sensing the tension in the air, began to shift. Whispers of approval circulated, some people nodding in acknowledgement of Elon's calm response. A few onlookers clapped softly, while others shared their thoughts on how Elon had handled the situation with grace. Despite the earlier confrontation, Elon remained unfazed, offering a quiet smile to Jonathan. His only reply was a soft, "It's okay." As Jonathan stepped aside, the crowd parted, and Elon moved forward with dignity, reminding everyone that true strength lay in remaining calm and composed, no matter the challenge. As Elon left the summit, he reflected on the unexpected confrontation and its aftermath. That scene had been a stark reminder of how quickly people could make judgments based on appearances alone. For a moment, he'd felt the sting of being underestimated, but it was not the embarrassment that lingered. Instead, he thought about how he'd responded with patience, choosing to diffuse the situation rather than escalate it. It was a subtle reminder that true power doesn't always lie in the force of words or actions, but in how one chooses to react in moments of conflict. Elon knew that, often, people's actions were driven by their assumptions or biases, and this encounter had reminded him of the importance of standing firm in one's truth. He had nothing to prove, yet by remaining calm and composed, he had not only protected his own dignity, but had shown others a better way to handle adversity. Elon realized that the lesson from this experience extended far beyond his own personal reaction. It wasn't just about how he had been treated or how he'd handled the confrontation. It was about the broader message of respecting others regardless of their appearance, status, or assumptions. It had been a reminder of the dangers of judgment based on outward appearances, and how often that judgment can cloud our perception of others. His calm response, instead of a combative one, sent a message that kindness, respect, and patience are powerful tools in breaking down prejudices. Elon knew that in his position he could influence others with his actions and words. The encounter had reinforced the idea that standing firm in one's beliefs, remaining composed in moments of tension, and choosing to act with dignity could inspire others to do the same, helping to create a culture of mutual respect in a world too often clouded by assumptions. In the end, Elon's experience served as a powerful reminder of the importance of humility in leadership. Despite his fame, fortune, and accomplishments, he chose to respond with patience and grace rather than assert his authority or escalate the situation. His calm reaction not only diffused a potentially humiliating confrontation, but also sent a clear message about the values he held dear: respect, dignity, and self-control. True leadership, Elon reflected, isn't about asserting power or commanding attention. It's about setting an example for others to follow, especially in moments of adversity. The true strength of a leader lies in their ability to stay true to their principles and remain composed, even when faced with unfair treatment. Elon's response not only taught Jonathan a valuable lesson, but also reminded everyone witnessing the moment of the profound impact humility can have in shaping a more respectful and understanding world. The lesson learned from Elon Musk's experience at the airport is the power of humility, patience, and grace in the face of unfair judgment. In a world where it's easy to react with anger or arrogance when wronged, Elon's response showed that leadership is not about asserting dominance or authority. It's about remaining calm, composed, and true to one's values. The story sent a clear message about the importance of treating others with respect, regardless of their appearance or status. Instead of confronting Jonathan aggressively, Elon chose to address the situation calmly and patiently, teaching a valuable lesson about handling conflict with dignity. His actions reflected that real strength lies not in loud reactions or displays of power, but in the quiet confidence of staying true to what is right. This moment also served as a reminder that the world is quick to judge based on assumptions, but it is our actions and integrity that truly define us.